G'day, Andrew. I'm going to do a video blog just as a new thing to try out. I've been doing lots of podcasts and stuff like that, and the general idea of speaking into a camera, speaking rather than speaking to another person. So I'm going to try and do a bit of a response. So I'm going to do talk about the day. Some of the ideas, connections to go with it all. Sorry for being a bit distracted there. So I'm going to talk about the sort of lead in, the actual activity, some of the projects I'm doing, some of the connections, and send it to you as a blog, as a video blog, a YouTube link, and you can send it off to, there's another kid up the park here. So I'm doing this just outside my house. There's a little bit of parkland just around the corner. This kid's having a good look at me. Okay, so the overall thing is, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very concerned about continuing to rehabilitate and not overstep people. I'm very much aware that even though individual people say that I'm not a burden, I will be a burden on people, talking to them if I talk too much, as I need to, as I'm coming across. So part of the stroke thing is that you've lost some ability, you have to build it up. People advise people to engage and speak with stroke people. I can tell you that they don't do it. They find it very uncomfortable, and they often say something and you say something stupid back, and then they're applying their rules and it shuts down very quickly. So in essence, I've had to learn to podcast into a machine, to learn to speak, and probably to video cast at this stage. I'm remembering now to look at the centre of the camera. And so people say, oh, you're not a burden, but indeed you have to at least think that you're a burden, and actually careful not to overstep things. And as you are trying to produce work, you can put it out there for some feedback. You need some feedback if you're talking. And then if you do it a second time, you realise it's not there. So with podcasts, I can produce a podcast to someone, they can listen to it. If they don't like it, they'll not respond. And I have also think good old kookaburras in the background there. And so this is a similar sense here. So just very much stepping up ahead, and it's not all bad news. I've realised, sort of like, I think that the school, no support, they said I didn't meet the operational needs, looking after me, they're helping me rehabilitate, was outside their operational needs of what they want to do. They were trying to do, obviously, other things, but you have to sort of deal with that and say, oh, look, I've got to really build up. And so I'm building up very slowly with podcasting, video casting, and writing things up, beginning to clean things up the way I write up, but realising that on one aspect, being left alone means you can work really hard on these complicated ideas, but the complicated ideas are sort of like the worst thing for you. Like, how you adapt. Well, I've got this huge complicated idea, so you can't unhave a complicated idea. Once you've got a complicated idea, you have to just incubate it and sort of protect it. Sort of don't expose it to too much conversation. So I'm just trying to sort of dig into the idea of burden, keeping a low profile, and just basically discussing it. Okay, moving ahead. The jet boat thing was a very fascinating thing to meet the different people. There was Michael and his link, and you can give this off to Michael if he can stand such a long video. I'll upload it to YouTube unlisted, so you can send the link. Being able to get into the idea of marketing, and I've actually been pushed into marketing in various areas, and to look at how the speedboat came along. And I had a great time actually in the speedboat. And one of the things I found very interesting is that when I asked people around me, would you like, you'll be able to go on the speedboat? No, I don't think. No, I don't think so. Coming back, I say, look, I had a fantastic time. And the people around me say, oh no, I wouldn't have liked it. So for as much, it's great investing in me, but unfortunately as an influencer I haven't been able to get across. And I've spoken to various people that said, oh well, I was in a speedboat. They offer you the information. I was in a speedboat in New Zealand. It was good, but I prefer a ferry. Or I'd get it in there because I had a sore back. So it was very interesting to try and see that even though the positivity is in myself, it doesn't. I don't have the ability to extend it beyond. That's probably not my core competency. So it was interesting meeting the Americans, tuning yourself to that. It was Anjanine. I've forgotten the Korean girl's name. There was Mark, Michael, and a few of the drone crew, and learning about that. If I can just sort of get into, I was talking to Michael about iPad tours and links across here. First thing I'll probably talk about is the mounting of this particular camera, and this is this government grant that I've got. I've got $2,650 for doing essentially what you've done there, but putting it on, wrapping it around this person's motor scooter, and have the camera, microphone, ideally drones and other things going around, filming this person and building him as he takes on a tour. And I came back to Glenbrook and mounted the camera on this trolley, sort of using cable towers and PVC tubing, lashing it up, and bits of, and learning how to do that. It's remarkable that having done it once, it was much quicker to do it. We did a little tour. Next Wednesday we'll start to do another tour and advertise for other people on scooters. So it's an idea to go around, and he's going to go to the historic sites the way that he wants to. But I've also got him to go on tour via the businesses of Glenbrook and buy bread, cheese, roo steaks, and cook a kangaroo steak. He won't actually do it, he'll just pick it up, give it to him. And I've already been to the businesses and looked at how you build that into a story, so a business-oriented story. So I think that might be similar to what you're doing. I'm remembering now. Look at the camera. So this is with this grant. So it was very interesting for me to see the GoPro and the costs and the way that the video was being put together and would be stitched together. And I already did a little video straight after this. I was going to do it anyway, of a trolley is mounted onto this electric scooter and around the outside, and how you actually compose it together. I do have a problem of, in the camera they produce very bloated files. I've got a limited amount of computer memory left, so I don't know how to actually quite get that all the way down. It's the point of compression. I've got Android compression programs, but I do have a compression problem, and we want to build it up. So I'm in the Historical Society and helping the Historical Society, and part of helping the Historical Society is reading an email, reading a procedure, reading a grant application, and then making a sort of parental judgment. These people don't understand how to apply for the grant, or if they can apply for the grant, how to apply for the grant to meet the deadline. What do you think? We've got the money. So it's sort of happened like that. But one of the things I want to do, and this is relevant to Michael, and he was talking about Apple, there's a sort of a game changer in town. So you'll have to probably accept what I have to work on. Like, I don't big note the fact that I do know technology, but there's the game changer in town is that the fact that you can buy a 10-inch, 11.6 inch, 10-core touch thing for $18, and that's from China. So they're dumping them on the market. So once the cost of something comes down that much, and you've got something which is you want people to walk around, so they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily a mobile phone. When a mobile phone it's got to be put away, taken out. So a tablet's sort of ideal for this. Now, if it's only $18, you then have an option to go ahead. Now, this is one of the options I want to go ahead. It's not necessarily with Apple. I looked at Apple projects. So basically, you have a route and a GPS coordinate, and it says where you are, and so you can decide to go along that route. And along the route, you have assets, media assets that you come across. Now, what actually happens here is that what you can do is, rather than have an integrated program, you can have $18, you can have two 11-inch things, one with the map and GPS, probably a bit more expensive to have a GPS, one without the GPS and just the media. And they're two separate things. The left-hand side has the downloaded offline Google Maps, so you no longer have to have Wi-Fi access. You load it up and it will operate without access. So this is getting away from the fact that you have to be connected to the internet for this to work. So this is a major improvement, and the fact that you can basically get 20 inches of screen for $30, it's the only sensible way to go. And you can have, so rather than being able to flip on the two calculations, you have the two open all the time. On your left hand side you have your Google Maps, probably an Android app on top of that, of the compass loaded up. So that's loaded, ready to go. You have underneath it power banks. So what you do is that when it comes back in, you swap the power banks, and you never worry about charging it. You just have your power banks, two power banks to go in. On the left hand side you have your Google Maps, your position of where you're going on Google Maps, and you use that to plot your route. And you have your assets, numbered assets, and on the other side you have your, I've got to have a quick look on here, and what does it say? Belong. Hi Peter, upcoming changes. Okay, thanks a lot for that stuff. I think Belong has picked up the fact that I have found a loophole in their international calls. So if there's an international company offering something, I do phone up to see how switched on, how adapted they are for it. And the bottom line is that as adapted as they are for these walking tours, I can do something better. I want to do a walking tour there. So that's, but there is this thing with Apple. They also want a machine at the museum. They want iPad information click-throughs. I don't think Glyn Book's main asset is out there. It's not within a Hoki museum at the moment. So there's things that they want to go through with Apple. There's things which don't necessarily go with Apple. But there are other products that you could eventually go there. So you really need you could even have a third. For Androids are now so cheap, you can buy 3 Androids, one which you pick up and you can use to film your day, and it's timed, so it's got recorded with time and location to put across. That's a little bit there. I've got to actually understand how you upload your photographs. It knows where it is and puts locations. It's a very interesting thing there. Seeing the GoPros and the stuff like that is what essentially I'm doing. Rather than you do it on Speedboat, I'm doing on these old people's trolleys to actually create a media asset about what they do. So that's the general gist of what I'm wanting to do, and it was very interesting to speak with Anjana, in that she was at a point of getting information and processing it on a short time frame, whereas I'm really at the other end of the thing of getting a whole set of complex stuff comes in, and I'm trying to work out what to do with it. So I'm writing papers and I'm using techniques, machine intelligence and stuff like that, or Google speech to text to actually produce something good and great, but then the actual fact that it's not structured in a way that people can take it apart. That's not necessarily the problem. People can't take things apart anyway. These are these big problems that people can't really unscramble, and it's there. That's it. So look, thanks a lot for the day, and I'll hope this is a bit more interesting, a bit more usable for you. It may not be. Doesn't really matter. It means that I'll just keep practicing doing this from time to time to get up information across. But thank you very much, and I'll be there for the next adventure, and we'll try and perhaps get things together. Thanks a lot.